Scott's got a lot of experience in mountaineering.
Yeah.
And
I just want to skip to K2.
Yeah, Scott, if you know the answer, will you talk about some of the differences technically between K2 and Mount Everest?
Yeah.
And I'm building up to this, by the way, folks, because there's a lot of people just died on K2, and it was really bad. And K2 is the second highest mountain in the world.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people consider it the hardest mountain in the world.
That's what I hear.
But hey, Jamie, pull up the stats.
Yeah, it's a ridiculous mountain. So it's the Karakoram too.
That's the range, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, Pakistan, and Everest is. I mean, it presents its challenges. It's a mountain in the death zone. It's the tallest mountain in the world. However, it's largely supported by Sherpas and the climbing industry. So you get a lot of megalomaniac surgeons that want to climb it and things like that, you know? And if you have the money, you can get someone to drag you up there to a point. You still have to be fit. You have to, you know, it's not like a total noob can get to the top of that. I have a really good friend of mine summited Everest the year I got married, actually. He missed my wedding because he was coming down. He was part of the first Chilean expedition on the Tibetan Chinese side coming up. He successfully summited, said it was amazing. Sometimes people knock it just for being a trek that you're hauled up, but it's actually, it's a better climb. And I've got another good buddy who's guided it several times, Jacob Schmitz. He lives over in the Netherlands right now, and he's guided it a few times. He's guided, I think, all the 7 summits at this point. And K2 is a whole other level. Yeah, I mean, it's not something for a casual mountaineer.
Right.
If I had 60, 70 grand in the bank and some time,
is that what it is?
That's to climb Everest.
You're talking 60 to 70 G's.
It might be higher than that now. I don't even know.
Do you know like why it costs that much?
Well, it actually costs that much. Just the logistics of getting people, supplies, oxygen there is legitimate. Not to mention the fees, because a lot of the local people, the Sherpas as well as the government, they rely on that. That's their life. Yeah. And so it costs a lot of money to get up there. If I had that money just kicking around and plenty of time, I would feel comfortable climbing Everest. That's within my skill set to have a Sherpa drag me up the mountain. Not that my skill set is that great. I would have no business going to K2. Absolutely not.
Is it more like when everybody says it's more technical, is it like, what does that mean? Is it like more like on faces of rocks, or is it more steep? Is it a lot more ice? Like,
yeah, like why?
Yeah. Well, you're actually doing technical climbing at serious altitude
in the death zone.
Yeah. Whereas
you're not just like
walking up.
Exactly. Like, so the Nepali side of Everest, I know, has the Hillary step, and it's got a little bit of climbing that's a bit technical, but there's also fixed lines up there.
Like, are you like actually like, when you say like you're actually climbing, are you like, are you just going up a steep thing? Are you like ice axing in? Like what is that?
Well, I think part of it too to remember is that the answer on K2 is yes.
Okay.
But within mountaineering, every year the conditions change. So sometimes what was a rock face is now an ice face, or where there was snow, there's now packed ice, or there's exposed rock. So depending on the year that you're out there, the route will change slightly. And something like an Everest is nice in a sense because teams of Sherpas have gone up there and they've laid ladders and fixed lines. So if you're climbing Everest on the traditional route, you are hooking your Jumar into the fixed line and you're walking up.
You just said like you knew what a Jumar is.
Yeah, I did.
It's an ascender.
Yeah. Okay. I didn't know. I don't know what that is.
Little things that
you go.
exactly. It goes one way and then you pull the button to go the other way.
Okay. It's called Jumar?
It's one name for it.
Okay.
An ascender, a Jumar. Yeah. And you're walking up that way. On K2, you don't really have that support because not many people climb it.
Yeah.
Here's some crazy stats on K2, according to Google. Only 350 people have reached K2 summit, and 77 people have died.
Dude, that is insane.
Yeah.
That's 1 in 5 almost die.
I know.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why would you ever do that?
I mean, it's the adrenaline rush.
If I was like, hey, you wanted to do this thing where like
No.
there's a 20% chance you're gonna die, I'd be like, I'm good.
I'll go walk Mount Hood.
So I want, so I want to ask you, what are I know. So we discussed this in the last podcast we did with you, but what are some of your climbing highlights? I know you've done a lot.
Yeah, I mean, so the big mountains that people know, I've been on Denali, Kilimanjaro. People are always impressed with Kilimanjaro. It's a fun trek that's culturally awesome. Yeah. It's a hike. If you're in good shape and you're a backpacker hiker,
it's not too
go
bad.
do it. Yeah,
JK is
really
hiking
cool.
stuff.
Yeah, yes. What about what? Okay, what? So what else?
Aconcagua, tallest mountain in the world that's outside of the Himalayas. It's in the border of Chile and Argentina.
How tall is it?
22,000, almost 23,000.
Wait,
feet.
do you go up that?
Yeah.
That's legit.
That's no joke.
Yeah, it's in 22.9, something like that. And I've been to the Himalaya as well, north of India, right next to Nanda Devi. We climbed a couple mountains over there.
So
wow, I didn't know about that.
What altitude's considered like the death zone?
Typically 25,000-ish feet, and that's kind of, so the death zone is defined as the point where your human physiology will never recover and be able to sustain itself. So every human being will eventually die above that point in altitude.
So it's just a matter of time,
give or take.
Ish.
Yeah, and in theory, that's kind of the artificial number people put on mountains as a general rule of thumb, but individuals have different physiologies.
Yeah. So you were pretty close to there at 22, 23.
23, yeah.
How shitty did you feel up there?
Yeah. Man, it was.
Did you use oxygen?
No oxygen. And oxygen makes things easier to a point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it makes things harder because if things go bad and you've been using oxygen, you're at a greater risk.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you don't have to use oxygen, don't use it.
What out of all the hikes you've done, all the ascents you've done, what's like the hardest?
That's a good question.
We asked the tough questions here.
Yeah. No, I know, tough
Larry
questions.
King pour one out.
Man, obviously the altitude at Aconcagua, you completely feel.
How many days did it take you to get up there?
It was, I think, 19, 20 days, something like
so
that.
Did you have to do the go up and go down thing to acclimate?
Yeah, absolutely. So on expedition style climbing, you kind of leapfrog it, where you hike to a high point, you drop some gear, and then you hike back down.
Okay.
You camp and you sleep. So climb high, sleep low.
Interesting.
And then you kind of then move up to that next higher camp. And you stay there. Then you carry up to the next camp. You leave a few things. You come back down and you sleep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
And that way it allows your body to come around to that altitude.
And so it took you 20 days. And what was your starting elevation at like day one?
Yeah. So we started in Mendoza, took the bus up to Pamientes, I think, which is a little ski resort right there at the base. And there's about a 3-day trek in to get to base camp. I want to say the ski resort's in 9,000 feet. That's total guess.
That's legit.
Okay.
Base camp is 14,000 feet.
Okay.
On Aconcagua on the classic. So we did what's called like the 360 where you go up one side and come down the next. So we went to Plaza Argentina, and that was the base camp. And then you have camps from there, 2, 3, and 4. Then you summit, and you basically clean it all the way back down to the other side on Plaza de Mulas, and then trek out.
When did you do this?
That would have been 2013, 14.
And what's the last one you've been up?
So we went to Denali in 2014. My wife and I took a year-long road trip, so we drove our Toyota truck to Alaska.
That's awesome.
Met up with 2 Chileans, a Brazilian, a German, and another gringo, a guy from Columbus, actually, Nick Schultz, right at you. And we got on Denali, and then my wife did a mountaineering course there in Alaska. Then we drove the truck down to Panama and South America.
Oh, shit.
So
Pan American Highway.